You know, some roads are just asphalt, but others, they're legends. And today, we're diving into one of the most notorious and breathtaking routes in all of North America. We're talking about a bike journey right across Mexico's Sierra Madre Mountains, starting in the city of Durango and ending on the Pacific coast in Mazatlán.
And look at this. This isn't some cutesy nickname somebody made up. That's the actual sign for the Espinoso del Diablo, the devil's backbone. I mean, with a name like that, you know you're in for a challenge, right? Maybe a little bit of danger, and for sure, some absolutely spectacular views. This is it. This is where the real adventure begins.
So, what does it actually take to do a ride like this one? Well, it's more than just strong legs and a good bike, believe me. As we're about to find out, it takes a serious sense of humor, a knack for navigating chaos, and really, the right mindset to push through and find out what you're truly made of.
Okay, so let's rewind and start right at the beginning. Turns out, before you can even think about conquering the mountains, you've got to conquer the city of Durango first. And well, that was its own special kind of adventure.
I mean, every great adventure has to start with a little bit of chaos, doesn't it? And this one was no exception. It kicked off with a forgotten e-bike battery key. Yeah, that required a friend to literally race down for a last-minute rescue. Then, just to add to the fun, a moment of sheer panic over a lost bus ticket. But, you know, the universe balances things out. In the middle of all that, while they were stopped for a bike fix, a local guy named Raul just comes out of his house, offers them water, and then comes back with this gift. These incredible 3D printed scorpion keychains. Just amazing.
All right, so with the city chaos in the rearview mirror, the real ride could finally begin. And almost right away, a theme started to emerge. It was like, for every single challenge the mountains threw at them, there was an equally amazing reward just waiting around the corner.
And you can really see that dynamic laid out right here. Imagine starting your day at a freezing 0 degrees Celsius. We're talking frost literally covering your bike and the windows. But then, that brutal cold opens up to these absolutely stunning canyon views. Or, to see these one-of-a-kind geological wonders, they had to slog through bogs and get totally covered in thorns. But through it all, just this constant, incredible kindness from strangers. And these pictures just capture that perfectly. Look at that. On the left, those leggings are just covered in thorny seeds. That was the price of admission, so to speak. And on the right, that was the payoff. These insane, almost alien-looking rock mushroom formations. Totally worth the wet shoes and spiky legs, right?
So, you know, with all these ups and downs, the writers ended up finding a kind of mantra. Just a simple phrase that helped them keep everything in perspective. And where they found it is pretty unexpected.
They found it right here, etched on the side of a glass while they were sipping some mezcal. See it there? Podría ser peor. At first, it was just kind of a funny thing to see on a liquor glass, you know?
Podría ser peor. It just means it could be worse.
And what started as this little inside joke, it pretty much became the unofficial theme for the entire trip. Whenever things got tough or cold or just plain chaotic, that phrase became this powerful little tool. A reminder that, hey, no matter what's happening, it could be worse, you can handle this.
And once you have that mindset, suddenly you can really appreciate the sheer scale of the Sierra Madre. I mean, look at this. These aren't just mountains. They're like layers of time and distance just stretching out forever.
And the road just turns into this tiny little ribbon, winding along the edge of these massive plunging canyons. When you're out here, you're completely immersed in it. It's humbling, you know? Just you, the bike, and this wild, rugged landscape.
And then bam, you come around a corner and you're hit with a view like this. The clouds, the endless hills, those yellow wildflowers in the foreground. This is the reward. This is exactly why you ride the devil's backbone.
So the whole journey was kind of building up to this one single epic day. The day they crossed the spine of the mountains, dropping out of the state of Durango and into Sinaloa. And really, this day was all about one thing, going downhill.
And the numbers here, they really tell the story. Okay, so they rode 108 kilometers, and they still had to climb over 1,300 meters, which is a lot. But the descent, whoa, over 3,200 meters of elevation loss? To put that in perspective, that's more than 10,500 feet of downhill in one day. That is just monumental.
This quote from one of the writers just says it all. It was epic. I almost wished it would stop. I love that. It was so much fun, so non-stop epic that it was actually overwhelming. Can you imagine that? Just flying downhill for hours, hands getting sore from the brakes, with these insane views whipping by.
And that whole descent was just packed with these little moments. There was this funny extortion attempt. A guy asked them for 10 pesos, not for anything bad, just so he could buy a Coke. They were constantly navigating these blind corners only to find a bunch of cows just chilling in the middle of the road. And then came the wildest part. They crossed this invisible line, and the air just changed. It went from dry mountain air to thick, humid coastal air in an instant. They'd made it to the Pacific side.
And yep, here's the traffic they were dealing with. Not cars, cows. It's just such a perfect real-world detail, isn't it? You can be on the most epic descent of your life, but you still got to keep an eye out for the local livestock.
So after that absolutely glorious descent, there was just one thing left to do. The final push to the Pacific Ocean, to their destination, the city of Mazatlán.
And man, what a shock to the system that was. After all those days with these massive mountain roads pretty much all to themselves, rolling into Mazatlán was just chaos. A busy, hectic highway, it was such a jarring return to reality, with all the traffic and honking cars, a total sensory overload.
But once they got settled, Mazatlán had its own kind of rewards. You know, rooftop drinks looking out over the ocean, checking out these beautiful old abandoned buildings in the historic part of town, and even facing one last fear on the lighthouse's glass bridge. And then, for a perfect ending to their chaotic trip, they found out their bus ride home wasn't 10 hours. Nope, it was a grueling 18.
So you might be thinking, after all that, the freezing cold, the thorns, that insane 18-hour bus ride, what was their big takeaway? It's simple, really. They want to do the whole thing all over again, but next time, they want to make it even longer. That's how you know it was a great adventure, right? A trip like this, it just changes you.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought, that simple, accidental motto, it could be worse. It helped them push through everything and actually find joy in the struggle. So it makes you wonder, right? What challenges in our own lives could suddenly feel possible if we just took a second to remember that same simple phrase?